Hello, good day. How are you today? Welcome to my channel, Begsy's Corner. My name is Adeze. If this is your first time, a very warm welcome to you. If this is not your first time, welcome back. For the first timers on this channel, I talk about the 3 M's: medicines, marriage, and motherhood, the 3 things that define my life right now. Okay, so welcome. And today is going to be a very interesting discussion. A lot of people have asked me this question over the years. Lots of people, friends, acquaintances, people on social media. When I talk about my kids reading books a lot, they keep asking me, how did you do it? Like, what is the magic? Which magic wand did you wave? And they started to read. So it's something that so many mothers have asked me. Friends, in fact, people actually just, they want me to talk about it, and I have talked, when they ask me, I usually answer them. But I feel that it's good if I do a video to put it out there so that lots of mothers will know how to go about this book reading thing for children, because it is very, very important. And I'll tell you why it's very important in a bit. Meanwhile, check this out. So welcome back. My history with books, it goes way back to when I was a very little girl. In fact, as young as 3, I can remember as far back as when I was 3 years old. My father is an avid reader, and he loves to buy books. So we had lots of books growing up. Lots of books, from storybooks, every kind of storybook. There was nothing my father did not have. His library was full, and it kept growing and it kept growing and it kept growing. Now, books captured my imagination a lot. If I was fascinated with books, why? Because my father was a diverse reader, he had different kinds of books in his library. Different kinds of books. He had novels, he had books on geography, books on politics, books on, in fact, every topic you can see: spirituality, sex, different things. There is no topic you mention now, let my father not have a book on it. I can't think of any topic that he did not have a book on, at least one book. So I had lots of books around me. So during holidays, or when you just find yourself bored, you don't want to play the games. As I got a little older, I didn't want to play all the games my brothers were playing. I would just look for a book to read. Books helped me travel the world. Like, my imagination, I pick up a storybook, I'm reading it, and I'm beginning, it's like watching a movie in my mind. As I grew older, books, I started getting interested in books of other genre, geography, history. I started to know a whole lot about the world, about other places that I had never visited. In fact, by the time I was in university, and by the time I even graduated, even in my adult life, when I talk about certain places, people assume that maybe I have traveled to those places. I have not. All the information I have about those places, I read in history books and in geography books. So my father was also not just an avid reader, he loved to buy books. If you travel with my father, when people get to your destination, the first thing that he will do is to buy something to eat, right? And then he will explore the area. He will explore where it is he has come to. Just look around for the kind of things he likes to see. A place to eat good food, a place to buy books or read books. And he would always buy. I can't remember any trip that Daddy went for, he didn't buy a book and come back. I really can't remember. So over time, my father noticed I liked to read. From newspapers, I read anything that was printed material. Newspaper, novels, books on different kinds, I would read it. So whenever he came back from work and he bought a newspaper, I would be the first person he would call. He would call me and give me the newspaper. If he bought a new book, he would call me and give me. When I read the 48 Laws of Power, I think I was in first year. This is like almost 20 years ago. Yes, 20 years ago when I read the 48 Laws of Power. He bought it, he called me, and he gave me. Now, he bought the 48 Laws of Power, The Art of Seduction, The Art of War, all those Robert Greene books. That was when I read those books. So In fact, I went to my father's library 2 years ago. Yes, I happened to go back to the house where I grew up, partly grew up in. And when I walked into where Daddy had moved the library to, very large, massive room. In fact, it was very nostalgic for me. I took pictures, I made videos because I saw books that I had memories with, books I had made memories, books I remember reading, books I remember that taught me a lot of things. So I've had a very long history with books, and knowledge. Reading was second nature to me. That was the major hobby that I had back then. So fast forward to when I became a mother. I remember having to go to, if you stay in Port Harcourt, the Silverbird Cinema when it was open newly. I remember carrying my little son, my toddler, there was a bookshop there. There was a bookshop. If you just enter that Silverbird Mall, there was a bookshop on the right then. I remember going there to buy books for him, all these board books so that he wouldn't tear them. I remember buying him some flashcards there, flashcards of numbers and letters and 2-3 letter words. I bought them. Books are things I spend a lot of money on. I don't check the amounts, I just buy them, okay, because I know the impact that books had in my life, reading books had in my life, and I wanted my children to also grow up reading books. So I even remember that when I was pregnant for my son, my father bought me a couple of books on pregnancy, and when he came to see me when I gave birth to my son, he came with a book on motherhood and child development for me. That is how he loves books and how he just does things around books. The first thing you need to do if you want your kids to read, to become avid readers, the first thing you need to do is to make the books available. That's number one. Make the books available. All right, buy age appropriate books for them and make it available for them. The second thing you need to do is to create a time for you to read to them. Okay, I'm talking about toddlers now. I'm starting from the toddler stage. If that's the stage you're starting to teach them how to read, you have to create time to read to them. I know some people are going to say they don't have time. When I was at this stage with my children trying to introduce this book reading habit, I used to be very, very busy. So, on most days, the earliest I come back to my house is 9-10 p.m. They would have slept by then. So the few days I managed to come back before they sleep or during the weekends, I would gather them to my room and then just open a book. It was my first 2 children then. I would open a storybook and read to them. I just choose a book that is colorful, has nice pictures, and has a nice story, and then read to them. Along the line, I found out that my son was interested in trying to read himself. So I would encourage him and just tell him to pronounce the words anyhow he pronounced it. I would nod and say, good job, and then I correct him. So we did that back and forth until he learned how to read. When he learned how to read, I bought more books that now had 3-letter, 4-letter words that he could pronounce and kept for them. So what I used to do, maybe when they're on holiday and I'm going out, I give him a book and ask him to read it, that when I come back, he's going to tell me the story in the book. So that will keep him occupied and he will try to read it. So when I get back home, I'll tell him, okay, Dee, come and tell mommy a bedtime story, or come and tell me the story in the book. And then he would come and try to tell me the story. So that was what I started out doing. So what I did was later on to include a reading time, especially during holidays, to include a time for reading books. Then I also try to reward, I started out trying to reward reading behaviors. If you finish a book in record time, not just read it fast though, and you can tell me what was in the book, I would give you something. Okay, so until it became a culture. It became a culture. Once they see a book, they will pick it up and go to read it. At a point, in fact, my husband and I had to start locking the books away because immediately you wake up, they are reading. The person is trying to eat, they want to be reading while they're eating. They want to go and ease themselves, they want to be eating, reading while they are easing themselves. So it kind of became a problem, and I told them no, that you have to have a time to read. You do other things. You wake up in the morning, do some house chores, eat breakfast, then read, then do something else. You can't just keep reading every time. There are other things in life aside reading books. So I'm going to run through the steps that I took. 1 was to make the books available. 2, create time to read these books to them. Okay. 3, give them opportunities to try and read them. Okay. When they learn now how to read, You create a time for them to read books. You can create activities around reading books, just like I did, where I asked them to read the book. And when I come back, you tell me a story where I try to reward book reading behaviors. That's what I try to do with them. So another thing you also need to bear in mind is that you have to keep buying books, because as they are reading, they are leaving a certain age, they need to start reading some other kind of books. They can now start grappling science and the arts, and then you need to keep just buying books, diversifying the kinds of books that you buy. I'm going to show you in a bit the kinds of books that we have in my home. So I'll show you a couple of books that we have. There are too many, I don't even know, but I'll just show you a couple of books that are quite interesting for kids. So I have this Stories for Boys Who Dare to Be Different. We have Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls. In fact, they've read this one so much that so it's just stories about women, 100 women who've done extraordinary things in the world. I remember I used to read this one with them. The nights I come back, I read it with them. Okay, then we have 50 Amazing Things Kids Need to Know About Science. All right, these are diverse books. This is Language Network, is a book about communication, a book about English language. All right, it's quite it's something an adult should read, but then my kids also go through it sometime to understand their grammar and English lessons. All right, of course, this is something that every teenage child should read. I Am Malala. My first two children have read this. I have also read it. A very interesting book to read. Okay, we have Aesop's Fables from Barnes and Noble's Classics. If you know Aesop and his stories, they are Aesop's Fables. Very, very interesting book for children to read too. I have the Fairy Tales from Hans Christian Andersen. Okay, I have this illustrated book of saints. Like I said, I'm a Catholic, so they've been able to read about the history of so many saints from this book. All right, I have this chicken soup. You know the chicken soup series? Oh, my parents had every single chicken soup series. I mean, every chicken soup for the dog lovers soul. I didn't love dogs, but I read it. So this is chicken soup for the kids soul. There's very nice stories that help children to understand a whole lot of things: empathy, compassion, generosity, care, charity. Very interesting book. Now this is a book, The American Presidents. My son is done with this book, so he can tell you so many things about the 44 American presidents. They're all in this book. This is Peter Pan, a Barnes and Noble classic. Everything you need to know about world history. We have over like 6 world history books, different types, different versions, different things they talk about. Very interesting book. We have Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, all right? The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I mean, there are lots of books. These ones are just the ones that are around me right now that I decided to show you. So all those old classics, I have them too, because it is very important to me. I want them to have a foundation. For The Old Man and the Sea, Gulliver's Travels, just think about all those books. Barnes and Noble's classics, we all have, I think I will have up to 50 of them. Okay, I also read them too, because they are also for adults too. So I just selected the ones that are within their range, that they can understand, and they read them. So I also have history books about the world. We have history books about American presidents, about the British monarchy. I have a book on Africa. In fact, I have maps in my house. I have the world map, I have African map, I have Nigerian map. That is also something that helps them to understand the world they live in and to gather knowledge too. We have some African writers. I want to get the African writers series books for them, so I have a couple of them. I have Things Fall Apart, Arrow of God. I have Chike and the River. I have what's that one called, Concubine and the Great Ponds. So I want to get over to the importance of reading books, the advantages of reading books for children and even for adults. One is that it expands our knowledge base. It expands our knowledge base. So when you read books of different genres, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to be a repository of knowledge. 2, another thing that reading books helps us do is that it increases our vocabulary. It helps us with our vocabulary, helps us with our language skills, and helps us to learn how to express ourselves better. That's one thing that it does. 3, this is something I like to say, you travel the world through books. It's all still a part of the knowledge part of, you know, the knowledge part of what you gain from books. You travel the world through books. You're able to better understand the world that you live in and the people that make up this world that you are in. A fourth advantage is that it helps you reduce stress, because reading books can be a form of relaxation for you. Yes, it's a form of relaxation for you and even for the children. Another thing is that it improves memory. Reading books improves memory. You see what I used to do with my children? Read the book and tell me the story later. It helps to improve their memory. Another thing it does is that it helps them to focus and be concentrated. Another thing that reading books can do is that it helps to improve writing skills. These are the advantages and importance of reading books, and it is very important that we pass this reading book culture on to our children. It will be better for them. It will help them a lot. I'm so happy that my children picked up this habit from me, and they are going to sustain it. As long as I keep buying books, they need to be sustained, because sometimes they just go, "Mommy, we read every book in this house." I say it's not possible. You cannot have read every book in this house. It's not even possible, because there are some that they haven't gotten up to the age, like some of the Barnes and Nobles, they are still quite advanced for them. So it's by the time they start turning maybe like 13, 14, 15, they will read those ones. Now this holiday, this COVID-19 lockdown holiday, my son came back from secondary school, and the first book that he read was Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Phil Knight is the owner or the founder of Nike. My son came home and saw that book in my room, and he picked it up and started to read, and in 3 days I think he was done with that book. He picked up a second book, which was big brands and how they started, you know, big brands like Coca-Cola and things like that. I bought that book and just skimmed through it. I've never really read it, but this boy just finished it. Within 1 week he had gone through those 2 books. What is it doing? In fact, I remember reading Shoe Dog, and I know the impact of Shoe Dog in my life, and I was beginning to wonder the impact this book will have on this 11-year-old. I remember asking him, what did he learn from the book? Did he pick up new words? Did you learn new things? And we're watching Food Channel, and then someone was talking about making Mai Tais, and he was like, "Oh, Mai Tai." I'm like, have you drank Mai Tai before? "No, I know about Mai Tai." I'm like, "How do you know about Mai Tai?" "I read it from Shoe Dog when Phil Knight went to Japan to look for companies that will make shoes for him, blah blah," you know, and he delved well into the book. I was just looking at him, and this is the way I was even shocked. About 2 years ago, we were in the parlor watching television, and they said something about Pearl Harbor, and the boy just picked up from there. I started to talk about Pearl Harbor and talk about the Second World War. I was shocked. This is what books has done to him. He has a lot of knowledge when it comes to different topics. For someone his age, he can converse with adults and he's, you know, about certain topics, and he brings a whole lot of, you know, knowledge to the table. For my second daughter, what books has done is that the girl's vocabulary is, I mean, it's something else. Sometimes she talks and I turn around and I ask her, "Do you even know the meaning of that thing you said?" And then she will give me other synonyms of that word. She won't even explain the word. She will just give you other synonyms, and that helps you know that she really understands the meaning of that word. So if you have any questions on how to get these children to read, just let me know. You can send me an email and I will respond to you. The goal is to get these children reading. It will help their future. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope this video will be impactful in your life. Next video, can you make suggestions on what I will talk about in the next video? Please, I would like suggestions. You can make suggestions of what you would want me to talk about in the next video, and I will consider it. Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day. Bye.